Friends, it is time once again for our daily message of hope. And with today's message, here is Richard Eaton.
Friends, to brighten your day, here is our message of hope.
Does it ever occur to you that you live in two worlds? The world that God made and the one you yourself are making. We are told that God made his perfect world by his word. We too are making our world by our words, which are sometimes spoken and sometimes unspoken. As our world grows more like God's world, we reap an increasing measure of the blessings that our own Creator prepared for us in the very beginning. If you're making a world that is not harmonious, probably you're finding it a hard world. The average man's world has weak spots in it, for he calls his world both good and evil. This common mistake is symbolized by Adam and Eve's eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which caused their exile from the beautiful Garden of Eden. The children of Adam and Eve have continued to make the same mistake, keeping most of them out of a world of only good, of happiness, of peace, of plenty. Often we name a certain thing evil and wonder why our Creator permits it in this world. We wonder about certain horrible happenings. We ask why an apparently evil person is permitted to live on and on, waging destruction and wallowing in the riches of ill-gotten gains. We compare him to a more saintly person who lives in poverty, suffers poor health, is unjustly treated in many cases. But such conditions are the creations of man alone. Among the good things that we inherit from our Creator is freedom. The freedom to think, the freedom to act, the freedom to react. Freedom is necessary for happiness and development, but there's a possibility of going too far, making of this privilege an evil rather than a blessing. We must be careful what we choose in exercising our freedom of thought and speech. When we think and speak constructively, we reap in return peace and harmony and happiness. On the other hand, when we spend much time recognizing, worrying about evil, looking for it, extolling it, we can expect results of inharmony, disappointment, frustration, lack of all sorts. It has been said that a man's highest possible attainment, and the one most satisfying to him, is an understanding of his unity with God, with God's good world, and conformity to it in thought and word and deed. A world of good and evil is a difficult world, as we all well know. But never should we blame God or anything outside ourselves for the things in our world that make us unhappy. When things begin going wrong, that's the time to make a thorough check of our habits of thought and reaction and speech. We need to say if we're putting the emphasis on evil or on good. Now I know that often we spend time concentrating on some idea of good. This is particularly true of some persons who may spend hours a day affirming good, and harmony, and so on. And then they destroy the effect of this by strongly declaring something of the very opposite nature to be true of themselves or their affairs. For example, suppose you affirm and visualize and meditate on health for half an hour every morning. Then you go forth to your job, you meet someone who says, "Well, how are you today? You're looking pretty tired." Before you realize what you're doing, you say, "Oh, pretty well, but you know, I do feel tired after all." And then you cancel out all the good work that has been done in preparing you for a wonderful day. You can't resist inviting the other person's sympathy. You want him to know that you have a weak spot, and thereby you can gain some attention. This seems to be a failing of most of us. You may do this same thing in your efforts to demonstrate prosperity. You may affirm your divine source, You deny there's any lack in this world of ours, in God's world, and say that you're entitled to his bountiful goodness. You see yourself blessed by many gifts. Then what do? You cancel out your good work by saying, "Oh, I can't afford that. I've got to save for a rainy day." You put fear into your spending, into giving to others. You close the channel of supply to yourself by your tension. One day at lunch, a widow said to her young son, "Go easy on the butter, that's all there is." He looked up at her with a twinkle in his eyes and said, "Oh, no, it isn't all the butter there is. There's lots more in the store." This woman had been having a difficult time financially. The time was out of work. She realized the wisdom of her son's remarks and affirmed her faith and supply for them. The very next day, a good supply of groceries came to them from a friend who knew of their need. A few days later, she found a desirable position at a satisfactory salary. Our negative words are often simply the result of careless thinking. Take the person, for example, who's fallen into the habit of saying, "Oh, me, I always just miss a bus." How much better to reverse the saying and say, "We always get the bus on time." Words that we emphatically declare are really indicative of our inmost thoughts and feelings. It is a deep inner feeling we put into words that make them powerful. That is why we must be so diligent in affirming the good we desire to take place in our affairs. Why we should put more feeling into negative words than to positive ones, I just don't know. But it's a fact. Somehow or other, we let ourselves go. Moments of depression, moments of seeking sympathy, what not. We throw aside all our positive thinking. We throw aside all the thoughts of "I can," "I will." Instead, seek sympathy and discouragement. We've been told death and life are in the power of the tongue. We've been promised, "Thou shalt also decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." Now, we don't change God by our affirmations, but we can change our own way of thinking, our own inner acceptance of the words and their meaning. We need to get the feeling of the having already received consciousness. When we truly believe the good we ask for is actually ours, belonging to us, ready to come to us, we've made a great step toward attaining this good in our visible world. Courteous words, kind words, words of praise will get you much farther in the world and make your way more pleasant and harmonious. Right words, positive words, success and happiness will bring the desires of your heart into speedy manifestation. So, watch your words and your thoughts if you want to bring only pleasantness to yourself. I'll grant you habits of thoughts and speech are not easily changed, but they can be changed with persistence on your part. A woman comes to mind who had literally thought and talked herself into a state of ill health. She'd become nervous, irritable, a hen-pecking, nagging wife, a complaining mother. Her family could enjoy no recreation or pastime with her because of her constant complaining and quarreling and criticizing. Neighbors did not keep their lawns to please her. Members of the household did not sit to suit her, eat to please her, go to bed or arise at the times she thought they should. She tried to control everybody else. She complained constantly of being tired, of feeling badly, of being nervous. No one else worked as hard, felt as weary or ill, had such unruly children as she. Her husband was not considerate. The children didn't respect her. Friends did not keep their house properly. Eventually, this woman found she was actually ill. Her strength did not permit her to carry on her household duties. Her husband began spending evenings away from home. He admitted he liked it, was having a good time. Her children avoided her, argued with her, screamed at her. In return, when she chided them in a rasping, high-pitched, complaining tone of voice, the woman became desperate. She felt her world crumbling about her head, but she didn't know what to do about it. Then a friend came to her rescue. Her words in telling this woman of her faults seemed brutal at the time. The woman wept bitter tears in privacy. But she was desperate, willing to try anything. She began reading literature. Her friends suggested literature that taught her the importance of a positive, constructive attitude. Some of the fine Unity publications. She made an effort to apply the principles she read, although at times she was doubtful if they'd work in her case. But credit must be given. She was diligent. She actually tried. Though she failed time and again, slipping back into her despondent mood, her habit of fault-finding, of worrying, of voicing her unhappiness. And again, she brought herself up with affirmations of constructiveness. Then her affairs began showing marked improvement. She came to recognize her weaknesses and her failures. She was ready to admit them, to forgive herself for them, and to keep on keeping on, trying. This was evidence she was on the road to much happiness in life, which she eventually came to experience. Friends, let us remember that we are making the world in which we live. Yes, we are making the world in which we live. We make it through our habits of thought and speech, which we can control perfectly, through our reaction, which is controlled by our mind. And so let us beware of indulgence in both good and evil. If your own personal world is not the kind of a world you like, find out, like this woman did, what you are doing wrong. Check your thoughts, your words, and your reactions. Watch your reactions to the words and actions of other persons. Use your birthright of freedom. Choose only thought seeds and word seeds that have the potentialities of a harvest of good in your life. It's so easy. God has given you the mastery of your mind when you choose to assert that mastery. He has given control of your thoughts when you choose to control your thoughts. He has given control of your reaction to whatever situation, circumstance, or problem confronts you when you choose to change your reaction from negative to positive. It's all up to you. You are the master of your mind. You are the master of your reaction.
Friends, you've been listening once again to our message of hope. God bless you, everyone.
Listen again tomorrow, friends, for another message of hope with Richard Eaton. This is UBC, the United Broadcasting Company.